Here is what this means for thinking. You weren't born into a neutral world and then left to figure it out. You were born into a world that was already massively interpreted, massively categorized, massively judged. And that interpretation was pressed into you from the moment you could understand language. Your parents told you what was good and bad. Your teachers told you what was true and false. Your culture told you what was normal and deviant. The stories you consumed, fairy tales, movies, news, ads all came preloaded with values, assumptions, ways of seeing. By the time you were old enough to think for yourself, the tracks were already laid. The questions that seemed important, the answers that seemed obvious, the frameworks for making sense of experience, all of this was inherited, not chosen. This isn't necessarily malicious. It's just how culture works. It's how knowledge is transmitted. It's how societies maintain coherence across generations. But it means that most of what you believe not because you've examined it, but because it was installed before you had the tools to question it. And here's the really unsettling part. You can't see the installation. You can't see the scaffolding because it's everywhere. It's like trying to see the air you're breathing. It's too close, too constant, too pervasive. So when you feel certain about something, when you think, finally, I've arrived at the truth, what you really feeling is the satisfaction of your programming running smoothly. The feeling of confirmation. The feeling of being aligned with your tribe. The feeling of the world making sense according to the rules you were given. But is that thinking? Or is it just the system congratulating itself? Okay, so far, we've painted a pretty grim picture. We're prisoners of cognitive dissonance, trapped in confirmation bubbles, fragmented into unconscious committees, swimming in socially constructed realities we can't even see. You might be feeling a bit hopeless right now. Like, what's the point? If thinking independently is this hard, if it might even be impossible, why bother? But here's the thing. Understanding the trap isn't the same as being trapped. In fact, it's the first step out. Because the real danger isn't that we're influenced. The real danger is that we're influenced without knowing it. Let me show you what we lose when we don't wake up. First, we lose genuine curiosity. If you already know what's true, if you already have your positions locked in, why would you need to explore? Why would you read a book by someone you disagree with? Why would you talk to someone from a different culture, a different generation, a different political tribe? They have nothing to teach you. They're just wrong. And so your mind, which could have been a garden, becomes a fortress. Nothing new can grow. Second, we lose the ability to change. Life is constant flux. Circumstances shift. New information emerges. The world transforms. But if your beliefs are frozen, if your identity is welded to certain positions, then you can't adapt. You become brittle, and brittle things break. Look at people who built their entire identity around a career, and then lost that career. People who built their identity around a relationship, and then lost that person. People who built their identity around a political movement, and then watched that movement change or fail. When the thing goes, they go with it. Because they never learned to hold their beliefs lightly. They never learned that you are not your opinions. Third, and this is the big one, we lose each other. When everyone is locked in their own reality, convinced they're right and everyone else is stupid or evil, conversation becomes impossible. Democracy becomes impossible. Community becomes impossible. We end up in this nightmare where we're all shouting past each other, never listening, never learning, never connecting. This isn't abstract. This is what's happening right now, all around us. Families torn apart by politics. Friendships ended over disagreements. A public discourse that's less about finding truth and more about performing loyalty to our tribe. The philosopher Hannah Arendt wrote about something she called the banality of evil, the idea that terrible things aren't usually done by monsters, but by ordinary people who have stopped thinking, who just follow orders, who just do what everyone else is doing. But I think there's also a banality of stupidity, a banality of certainty, a banality of never questioning what you've been told. And that banality, that comfortable, Self-satisfied certainty is slowly eating away at our ability to solve problems, to understand each other, to live together on this crowded, fragile planet. So yes, thinking is hard. Yes, independence might be impossible in some absolute sense. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is to sleepwalk through life, convinced you're awake. Do you ever feel like you're just going with the flow, agreeing with whatever everyone else says? Maybe you're nodding along in a meeting, or liking a post just because it's popular. We've all been there. It's easy, it's comfortable, but is it really you? What if I told you there's a superpower that can completely change how you see the world, make you a better problem solver, and boost your confidence? That superpower is independent thinking, and today, we're going to unlock it together. This isn't about being a rebel for no reason. It's about becoming the architect of your own mind. So, if you're ready to break free from the herd and start thinking for yourself, you're in the right place. Stick around, because this is going to be a game changer. So what exactly is independent thinking? Let's clear something up right away. It's not about disagreeing with everyone just to be different. It's not about being stubborn or rejecting good ideas just because they came from someone else. Independent thinking is the ability to form your own judgments and opinions based on evidence, logic, and your own reasoned analysis, rather than blindly accepting what others tell you. It's about having the mental toolkit to look at a situation, gather information, and come to your own conclusion. Think of it like being a detective. A good detective doesn't just listen to one witness and call it a day. They gather clues, they question assumptions, they look at the evidence from all angles, and only then do they piece together what really happened. That's you, as an independent thinker. You're the detective of your own life, investigating ideas before you decide to believe them. Now you might be thinking, why is this so important? Isn't it easier to just go with the crowd? And you're right, it can be easier. But easy isn't always better. Groupthink, which is the opposite of independent thinking, can be incredibly limiting. It stifles creativity and can lead to poor decisions. History is filled with examples of brilliant ideas that were initially rejected by the majority. Imagine if pioneers like Galileo or Marie Curie had just accepted the common beliefs of their time. We wouldn't have made the incredible scientific leaps that we have. On a personal level, when you rely on others to do your thinking for you, you're essentially handing over control of your beliefs, your decisions, and ultimately, your life. Independent thinking empowers you. It helps you navigate a world saturated with information and misinformation. It makes you a more valuable team member at work, a more insightful friend, and a more engaged citizen. It's the foundation of personal growth and innovation. Okay, let's get practical. How do we actually start building this mental muscle? The first and most important step is to become a relentless questioner. And the first person you should question is yourself. The next time you have a strong opinion about something, stop and ask, why do I believe this? Where did this belief come from? Is it something I've actually researched? Or is it something I heard from my parents, my friends, or saw on social media? This isn't about invalidating your beliefs. It's about understanding their foundation. A belief that has been examined and tested is 1,000 times stronger than one that has been passively accepted. So get curious. When you read an article, ask, who wrote this? What is their perspective? Are they leaving something out? Be a friendly skeptic. Question everything, not with hostility, but with a genuine desire to understand. This simple habit will start to rewire your brain to look for evidence and reason, rather than just accepting things at face value. Step 2 is to actively seek out different perspectives. Our brains love comfort zones. We naturally gravitate towards information and people that confirm what we already believe. This is called confirmation bias, and it's a major enemy of independent thought. To fight it, you have to intentionally step outside your echo chamber. If you're a liberal, read a well-reasoned article from a conservative viewpoint. If you love a certain movie, read a negative review that makes some good points. Talk to people with different life experiences, from different cultures and backgrounds, You don't have to agree with them. The goal isn't to change your mind, but to understand theirs. Understanding that there are multiple, valid ways of looking at the same issue is a hallmark of a sophisticated thinker. It adds nuance and depth to your own perspective. It helps you see the blind spots in your own arguments. So make it a mission to consume content that challenges you, not just comforts you. Step 3 on our journey is to embrace the power of being wrong. This one is tough for a lot of us. Our egos don't like to admit defeat. But here's a secret. The smartest people in the world are often the quickest to admit when they don't know something, or when they've made a mistake. Being wrong isn't a failure. It's a learning opportunity. It means you've discovered a flaw in your thinking, and now you have a chance to correct it and build a stronger, more accurate mental model of the world. Think of it like a software update for your brain. You found a bug, and now you're patching it. So when you're in a discussion and someone presents evidence that contradicts your view, don't get defensive. Get curious. Say, "That's an interesting point. I hadn't considered that. Tell me more." Separating your identity from your ideas is crucial. You are not your opinions. Your opinions are just your current best guess about the world, and they are always subject to change with new and better information. The 4th step is to learn to think in first principles. This is a mental model famously used by people like Elon Musk. Instead of reasoning by analogy, which is when we do something because it's like something else we've done before, you break a problem down to its most fundamental truths. The first principles. These are the basic, undeniable building blocks of an idea. For example, instead of saying, "We can't do that because it's never been done before," you ask, "What are the absolute physical or logical limits here? What is definitely true?" Let's take a simple example. If you want to design a new chair, reasoning by analogy might lead you to just tweak an existing chair design. But thinking from first principles would make you ask, what is a chair for? Supporting a human body. What does a human body need for support? What materials can achieve that? By starting from scratch, from the fundamental truths, you open up the possibility for truly innovative and original solutions that others might miss because they stuck in the "this is how it's always been done" mindset. Our 5th and final step is to make time for solitude and reflection. In our hyper-connected, constantly buzzing world, it's almost impossible to have an original thought. We're bombarded with notifications, news feeds, and other people's opinions 24/7. Independent thinking requires space. It needs silence. You need time to disconnect from the external noise and connect with your own internal voice. This doesn't mean you have to go live in a cabin in the woods. It can be as simple as taking a 15-minute walk without your phone. It could be journaling for 10 minutes before bed, or just sitting quietly with a cup of tea. During this time, let your mind wander. Process the information you've taken in during the day. Connect ideas. Ask yourself the big questions. This is where your best insights will come from. It's in the quiet moments that the dots connect and you form truly original, independent conclusions. You cannot hear yourself think if you are constantly listening to everyone else. So let's recap our 5 steps to becoming a powerful, independent thinker. First, question everything, especially yourself. Second, actively seek out diverse and challenging perspectives. Third, embrace being wrong as a learning opportunity. Fourth, learn to think from first principles, breaking problems down to their core truths. And fifth, create space for solitude and reflection. This isn't an overnight transformation. It's a practice, a lifelong habit you cultivate. It's about choosing curiosity over comfort and courage over conformity. The world doesn't need more people who can follow instructions. It needs more people who can think critically, solve complex problems, and create a better future. That person can be you. Start today. Pick one of these steps and focus on it for a week. See how it changes your perspective. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single question. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into independent thinking. I hope you found it valuable. If you did, a like on the video would be amazing, as it helps the channel reach more people. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 5 steps are you going to try first? Or do you have another technique that helps you think for yourself? Let's get a conversation going. And of course, if you want more content to help you upgrade your thinking and live a more intentional life, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks again for watching, and remember, don't just accept the world as it's presented to you. Go out and understand it for yourself. See you in the next one.